Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Good
Rabbi.
morning, Rabbi.
Good Tavach, Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov Umforach.
Amen. Perek Beis, Chapter 2, Mishna Ches. Hamakadish, learning Mishna's Kiddushin. Hamakadish Bechelkai. That means if a person makes Kiddushin on a woman with his portion, it means with his portion from a carbon, whether it's a Kohen receiving whatever portion he gets to eat from the carbon, whether it's talking about a Yisrael who's going to eat the portion from his carbon, the non-Kohen, Bein Kachim Kachim, Bein Kachim Kalim, whether we're talking about Kachim Kachim, most holy offerings, or whether we're talking about offerings of a lesser holiness, lighter holiness, and they're called so because basically because of their holiness, there are certain restrictions that are involved. So, for instance, as they bring down here in the notes, if it's Kachim Kachim, which includes sacrifices such as a chatas, a sin offering, a mincha meal offering, an asham, a guilt offering, so which may have a higher level of holiness and may be eaten only by kohanim inside the temple courtyard. That's the kachim kachim. So it's only kohanim getting a portion. They can only eat it within the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash. Kachim kalim, such as shlamim, toda, peace offering, thanksgiving offering, which have less holiness and may be eaten even by non-Kohanim anywhere in Yerushalayim. Okay, so whatever you are, whatever case it is, you have a portion and you want to give it to a woman to be Mekadesher with it. Eina Mekudeshes. The halacha is she is not going to be Mekudeshes with that. And that is because the portion that you receive, the question is it yours? Or is it really, so to speak, God's? It really belongs to the Beis HaMikdash, but you're allowed to eat it. It's like, it doesn't belong to you, but you're allowed to eat it. And what the Mishnah is saying here is that the portions of a carbon, whether it's the Kohen or a non-Kohen eating whatever they can, is not considered theirs, but rather it's considered belonging to the Beis HaMikdash, and you have permission to eat it. It's not yours, you can't make Kiddushin with it. Then the Mishnah continues the next place, Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni, the second tithing. We know that there are certain parts of the produce every year that have to be separated and given out to the Kohanim, to the Leviim. Meiser Sheni is something that's not given to a Kohen or a Levi, but it's something that has sanctity to the extent that you can eat it, but you can only eat it in Yerushalayim. Or you have to redeem it onto money and take the money to Yerushalayim and spend the money there on food. So here, the person has his Meiser Sheni, and he wants to make Kiddushin with it. Says the Mishnah, Ben Shoigeg Ben Mezid, whether this is done knowingly or not, which means whether the way they explained it here is whether the woman knows that it's Meiser Sheni or not, Loi Kiddush, he has not made Kiddushin on her. The Kiddushin does not work. Divrei Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Rabbi Meir. According to Rabbi Meir, Meiser Sheni is like a carbon in the sacrifice, like sacrificial meat, that it's considered the property of the Beis HaMikdash, and you're allowed to eat it. Meiser Sheni is the same thing. It's heavenly property, it belongs to Hashem, and it's sanctified, it's not yours, but you're allowed to eat it. It's not yours, you can't make Kiddushin on it. So therefore, whether this Kiddushin was made intentionally, unintentionally, which means whether she knows it or not, no Kiddushin. Rabbi Yehuda says, he argues, if it was done unintentionally, which means she does not know that it's Meiser Sheni, Loi Kiddush, then it doesn't work. But Mezid, but if it's done intentionally, which means she knows, he knows too, that it is Meiser Sheni, then the Kiddushin does work according to Rabbi Yehuda. Now, what's the explanation here? So if we say that B'mezid, let's go to the second part. It says intentionally the Kiddushin works. Why is that? That means because according to Rabbi Yehuda, Meiser Sheni belongs to you. It has certain sanctity. There are restrictions on it, but it belongs to you. If it belongs to you, then the halacha is that you're allowed to go away. Then if it belongs to you, then it works, right? So if the woman knows it's Meiser Sheni, she accepts it, the Kiddushin works. But if she doesn't know it's Meiser Sheni, it doesn't work. Why is that? To explain, since Meiser Sheni has certain restrictions, it can be assumed that she would not have agreed to accept it if she had known it was Meiser Sheni. Thus, the Kiddushin was based on a mistake and is not valid. Meaning, we know Meiser Sheni, you can only eat in Yerushalayim. You got to redeem it on money and take that to Yerushalayim. So if she doesn't know that she's getting Meiser Sheni money, we can assume that it's a mistake. She's accepting it based on a false premise because she thinks this is regular stuff. And it's not regular stuff. It's the kind of stuff that she has restrictions on, and we can assume if she'd realize that's what it was, she wouldn't accept. So therefore, if it's b'shogeg, if it's unknowingly, she doesn't know about it, Kedushin's not good. But if it's done intentionally, which means he knows about it, she knows about it, she's accepting it anyway, then the Kedushin works because, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Ma'aser Sheni belongs to you. It's just a question of whether we can assume, it's just a question of whether we would say that she accepts it for Kedushin or not. Next, the last case of the Mishnah, ubehektish. Let's say you make Kedushin on a woman with hektish. Hektish means property of the Beis HaMikdash. You took something, you sanctified it to the Beis HaMikdash. It's not a carbon, not a sacrifice, but it's proper. It becomes now the property of the Beis HaMikdash, and that's what you used for Kedushin. Now, are you allowed to use the property of the Beis HaMikdash for your personal use? Absolutely not. The question is, though, that there is a concept that once you have used it for a non-sanctified purpose, that it will actually lose its sanctity. And once it loses its sanctity, it belongs to you. So, behektish. What if you made Kedushin with hektish? B'mezid kiddush, if he did it intentionally, the Kedushin works. Ubeshayge, if it's unintentional, loy kiddush, then he didn't make a good Kedushin. Diva Rebbe Meir, these are words of Rebbe Meir. So how do we understand this? So according to Rebbe Meir, if you do it b'mezid knowingly, meaning they both know, the man and the woman both know it's hektish, it's going to be good. Why is that? So they explain here, although a person is forbidden to use hektish for his own purposes, if he does use it, the item loses its holiness and no longer belongs to the Beis HaMikdash. It's not hektish, it's not sanctified property anymore. It's your property. Therefore,
it's not stolen, is it?
Well, the bottom line is it loses its sanctity and now it's yours. Therefore, if a man betroths a woman by giving her hektish, it loses its holiness and becomes an ordinary item, which can be used for Kedushin. Now, just to bring out the point you just made, now, what happens now? Do you owe hektish money? What goes on? So it says here, in return, you must repay the temple for the object. It's not scot-free. But what's interesting is, the point you bring up is very interesting, that once the hektish, the sanctity goes off, it's an unsanctified item, and where does it go to? It goes back to you. It's just that being that you now took this away from hektish, you're going to have to pay back. Now we'll go back to that, and we'll return to that in a second. But again, so if you did it b'mezid, you did it intentionally, it's going to be a good kedushin. If you did it unknowingly, meaning either the man or the woman did not know it was hektish, loy kiddush, then he didn't make a good kedushin. Why? Because it's assumed that they would not have agreed to use that object had they known it was hektish. Thus, the kedushin was based on a mistake and is not valid. So again, if you do it b'shogeg, and you didn't realize it, the assumption is, if you would have realized it, you never would have used it for that, whether it's the man or the woman. And therefore, if it was b'shogeg, the kedushin doesn't work. That's the opinion of Rebbe Meir. Rebbe Yehuda says, b'shogeg kiddush. If you did it unintentionally, it is a good kedushin. He holds the opposite. B'mezid like kiddush, but if he did it unintentionally, it's not a good kedushin. So what does Rebbe Yehuda hold exactly? So number one, Rebbe Yehuda holds that people do not necessarily object to using an item of hektish for kedushin, despite the fact that it is forbidden. According to Rebbe Meir, you're not allowed to do it. The assumption is that if they'd realize it, they wouldn't use it. According to Rebbe Yehuda, no, not necessarily. Even if it's something that was forbidden to do, it doesn't mean that they would now decide, I don't want it to work for kedushin. Therefore, the kedushin is valid, even though they did not know it was hektish. Okay, so that's step number one. You can't assume here that if they would have known, that they never would have used it. They would still be okay with it working for kedushin. Now, what's the difference between intentional and intentional or not? So according to Rabbi Yehuda, hektish that is used for private purposes loses its holiness only when the person uses it unknowingly. If he uses it knowingly, it does not leave the ownership of the Beis HaMikdash. That's his opinion. Unintentional, it goes out. Intentional, it doesn't. And that's why Yehuda says, b'shogeg, if it was done unintentionally, unknowingly, kedushin's good. Why? Because that is how it's going to lose its sanctity. And now become back to being your property. And if it's your property, you can make kedushin with it. But if you do it intentionally, meaning you're intentionally using it, then the sanctity does not go off, it doesn't belong to you, and therefore the kedushin can't work. Now, it's important to know, going back a little bit to when we say that you have to repay the Beis HaMikdash, that, there is very specific laws here. There's something called me'ila. Me'ila means using hektish for personal use. But that is usually used in a term where you do it unintentionally.
Yeah.
You do it unintentionally, and therefore, number one, so you did it unintentionally, it's going to lose its sanctity. You're going to have to pay hektish, the Beis Hamikdash, back, the principal, plus a fifth, plus bring a carbonashim, a guilt offering. If you do it intentionally, then the halacha is that you pay back. You get malchus, get lashes for doing it. But at the end of the day, according to Reb Meir, the point is that any misuse of hektish is going to take off its sanctity. It's just that Reb Meir holds if they don't realize it, that means it's a mistake. They never would have used it then. If they don't realize that it's hektish, which means they don't realize that they're misusing hektish, then we say if they realize it, they never would have used it. It's a mistake. Therefore, there's no Kiddushin. According to Rabbi Yehuda says, number one, people would still agree to use it. And number two, if it's shoygeg, if it's full me'ilah, as we said before, you're paying back the principal, the fifth, bringing a sacrifice, then the halacha is, the sanctity goes off, it's a good Kiddushin. But if you do it willingly, you did it knowingly, the sanctity does not go off. And therefore, the Kiddushin cannot work because it's not yours. Have a wonderful day. A good Tavach, Shavua Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Now, what about borrowed or stolen money?